And this is part two of the Hermetic warriors, Giordano Bruno. Bruno was a leading champion of Copernicus's heliocentric theory, which, although published 5 years before he was born, was still regarded as new and unproven. Scholarly opinion being split over whether he was right, wrong, or somewhere in between. Copernicus had merely proposed that the sun was at the centre of creation. He still stuck with his traditional model that the entire cosmos consists solely of the sun, moon, and planets, which move within an outer shell, the sphere of fixed stars. In other words, the stars are simply fixed points of light of varying intensity, all stuck on the same crystalline sphere and therefore equidistant from Earth. But, as the title of the book implies, Bruno went further, arguing that the stars are really suns like our own, but immensely far away and at varying distances. He rejected the concept of the sphere of fixed stars entirely, proposing that the universe is in fact infinite. Bruno also took the next logical step. If stars are really suns, then at least some must have their own system of planets, and some of those planets must be like our own. He wrote on the infinite universe and worlds, "There is a single general space, a single vast immensity, which we may freely call void. In it are innumerable and infinite globes, like this on which we live and grow. The space we declare to be infinite, since neither reason, convenience, possibility, sense, perception, or nature assign to it a limit. In it are an infinity of worlds, of the same kind as our own, beyond the imaginary convex circumference of the universe is time." And making the final logical leap, Bruno concluded it was impossible to imagine that these innumerable worlds manifested like our own, or even more magnificent, should be destitute of similar or even superior inhabitants. Of course, time and telescopes have proven Bruno right about the scale of the universe and the existence of other solar systems, and even if it has yet to be proven, few scientists also doubt that extraterrestrial life is a reality. These were deeply shocking conclusions to the Church, and indeed they were high on the list of indictable offences for which Bruno was condemned to death 16 years later. Whereas Copernicus had shifted the physical centre of the sun, the focus of creation was still the earth and human beings, which fitted the basic biblical model where God made the world in a unique place and humans in his own image. Bruno was proposing that there was no centre and that humans were no more or less important than other beings on other planets. Indeed, that some of the extraterrestrial races are superior to human beings. This was to mark the beginning of the Vatican's anticipated apathy towards heliocentricity and was to climax in its persecution of Galileo. Where did Bruno get his radical notion? His immediate inspiration seems to have been the English mathematician Thomas Digges, a protege and ward of John Dee, and England's major champion of Copernican theory. Digges had argued that space is infinite. In his defence of heliocentricity, published in 1576, 7 years before Bruno arrived in London. As they shared both interests and friends, it is unlikely that Bruno and Digges never met during the former London years. But in any case, Digges derived his idea from a section of the Hermetic treatise known as the Asclepius. Bruno may have reached the same conclusion independently from his own study of the Asclepius. But he added the concept of other inhabited worlds, which came from his contemplation of other key Hermetic principles, that the cosmos is imbued with life. Bruno also showed remarkable insights into other areas of science. He understood that the body is perpetually being renewed, bit by bit, so it effectively becomes totally new over time. The current understanding is that our bodies are completely replaced, cell by cell, every 7 to 10 years. In other writings, he put forward basic ideas about relativity. and some academic writers regard some of his notions about the structure of matter as effectively laying the foundations for later atomic theory. So in the face of this astonishing catalogue of achievements and insights, it seems nothing short of an outright scandal that Giordano Bruno is so little known today. Bruno's hugely influential ideas about the workings of the universe were only part of the picture. It was his view of the religious significance of the Hermetic tradition that inspired his most radical message and led him to his downfall. Another of the major works Bruno produced in London was the Expulsion of the Triumphant Beast in 1584, modelled on a key Hermetic text, Cor Cosmul, or Virgin of the World, and dedicated to Sir Philip Sidney. The book describes a gathering of the Egyptian and Greek deities, the goddesses Isis and Sophia taking the lead, in order to organise a great reform in the heavens. On the principle invoked in the celebrated Hermetic adage, as above, so below, as below, so above, this would cause equally great changes on earth. Clearly, it is the earthly transformation that interested Bruno most pressingly, and for what he called so passionately. How would that manifest? In Expulsion of the Triumphant Beast, Bruno reproduces in its entirety a section from the Asclepius, a celebrated passage known as the Lament, in which Hermes Trismegistus mourns the decline of the Egyptian religion, which has been eclipsed by foreign gods, Egypt's own having abandoned the land. But it also predicts that they will return and the religion will be restored. Bruno believed this prophecy referred to his own time and saw the religious turmoil then engulfing Europe as a sign that at least in its present form, Christianity had run its course. The return of the magical religion of Egypt was imminent. Since the rediscovery of the Corpus Hermeticum in the 1460s, it had been universally accepted by Hermeticism's enthusiasts and opponents alike that the texts contain the wisdom of the high point of ancient Egyptian, then considered the oldest civilization. As we showed previously, in fact, there is good evidence to support the Hermetic's ancient Egyptian origins. Many, Bruno among them, believed therefore that they preserved the original religious revelation to mankind. But characteristically, Bruno went further. He believed that the magical religion of ancient Egypt had been corrupted, first by the Jews and then by the Christians. Bruno thought that Jesus had been sent to restore the Jewish religion to its true Egyptian roots. From his own research into the origins of Christianity detailed in our 2008 book, The Masks of Christ, we would broadly agree. Without the benefit of this recent historical discoveries, how did Bruno know this? Bruno wanted nothing less than a root and branch reform of the whole of society based on the Hermetic principles, or rather, as he saw it, the religion of ancient Egypt. His ultimate aim was the creation of a spiritually unified Europe in which the religious tension between and within nations, which if unchecked would inevitably lead to a Europe-wide cataclysmic war, would be swept away. Bruno manifestly saw the authoritarian and dogmatically inflexible Catholic Church rather than the Protestants as the big stumbling block to his great reform. Indeed, although he explained the triumphant beast of his title as a metaphor for human vices, many, including the Inquisition, took it as a not very thinly veiled allusion to the Pope. This was not a good turn of events. The worry for the Inquisition was that Giordano Bruno was not just an easily dismissed eccentric, but an energetic and charismatic campaigner with a sharp mind who, as we have seen, enjoyed considerable influence over the likes of Henry III of France, Elizabeth I, and the Holy Roman Empire Rudolph II. Put simply, he was an Inquisition magnate, and his death by fire was only a matter of time. Towards the end of 1585, Bruno returned to France, but found it descending into civil war as staunchly Catholic nobles challenged Henry III, who was soon to be assassinated. He then left France for the next 5 years, travelled the university towns of Protestant Germany, preaching an increasingly hardline message of danger posed by the Catholic Church. In 1591, he made a somewhat unwise return to Italian soil, accepting an invitation from a wealthy admirer to visit the Republic of Venice. There, in May 1592, he was denounced to the Inquisition, arrested, and sent to Rome. After languishing in prison for 8 years, he was sent to the stake on the 17th of February 1600, with his tongue tied so he couldn't address the crowds. Now I've lost my pictures. Why have I lost my pictures? Well, sorry about that, guys. I hope they haven't gone. I'm too busy reading. I didn't pay attention. Okay, where was that to? Regarded as a diabolically inspired magician who sought the destruction of God's own holy church, it isn't surprising that Bruno's memory faded in the Catholic lands. What is less forgivable is that this great intellectual legacy was also allowed to fall by the wayside by the science historians. They seek to downplay, if not completely erase, the influence of the Hermetic tradition on science's origins, and whereas the likes of Newton, it was possible to pretend that their occult interests were of no great consequence. It was utterly impossible to ignore the role of Hermeticism in Bruno's work. Far easier for them just to forget him. Bruno's story was by no means over. During his last travels, fearing a Catholic onslaught that would bring Europe back under its domination, he had made plans for the underground continuation of his Hermetic reform movement. He formed a secret society, or more accurately, a network of secret societies, based in the universities of Germany and in the Republic of Venice, which would outlive him. Known as the Giordanisti, after his death, this clandestine group would have its own key part to play in the development of Western historicism. Okay, sorry about the bad pronunciations. It's late. I've redone these videos because the other ones were really, really horrible to listen to. So I really wanted to replace them and have this out there for you guys to listen to. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I think it's important that we understand just how the Catholic Church really tried to destroy this Hermetic wisdom and have continued to do so for thousands of years, basically. They have rolled out this scheme against the truth for, 2,000 or so years, and basically they've rolled out their own agenda and their own manipulation and their own lies. So whenever we get told that we shouldn't be reading something, or something's forbidden, or something's evil, or something is from the devil, we certainly know, if the Catholic Church are telling us this, that it's something we pay attention to and we actually look at what they're warning us of. This is how they manage to put fear into the masses and ensure that they were indoctrinated so to only follow what the Catholic Church wanted them to follow. So anyway, that is my videos on the Hermetic warrior Giordano Bruno, who I think was legendary, and much respect to Giordano Bruno. Okay guys, well that's it, and peace out.